Hi, it's Juris and welcome to Tattoo Shop Talk, and today we will take a look at yet another wonderful and unusual product by company Inklo. It's the battery grip and tattoo machine all in one unit, and it's called Inklo Challenger Tattoo Machine. Not too long ago we had a look at one unusual product by them already, and this is already history. They have new models of those and also these new type of machines. Interesting and unusual product, and I will do our usual pros, cons, and who is this machine for. Right away, it's very unusual solution. So it's this unit, pretty heavy, but it's heavy in a nice way. That the weight is in the right spot, so it's more like top heavy. On their webpage it says that it's designed in collaboration with tattoo artists, and when you look at this you right away have a question like by who. I contacted the person who sent me this machine and I asked by which tattooist it was helped to design. He mentioned a name. I'm not gonna try to say that name because it's a Chinese name and I don't want to butcher it, but it's by some Chinese tattooist who's somewhat big in China, and he had some back and wrist injuries and now he cannot work for longer periods of time. So in his mind this machine was solution for his injuries, which is a story why this machine was created. So from what I understood, tattooist drew some initial sketches and then the manufacturers did all the engineering and obviously manufacturing of this unit, and this is it. Price for this unit is $399 US on the webpage at the moment. This one has 3.5mm stroke. It was designed more like a shader. They will also have 4mm stroke machine that is available as a pre-order at this moment when I'm recording this video. And at $399, product comes in this lovely box. There's a space for product and USB-C cable is included. Nice, neat packaging, beautiful branding, black and gold. And then we have this interesting piece of technology. Cartridges attached here, on-off button is just there, boom. Display shows volts and it also shows amps, and with that it's some sort of reading where you can tell if something goes too much wrong. It's either cartridge or motor or maybe battery itself, so there is that reading. I'm not sure how exactly to use it, but it's there. If you know, you can figure it out. Cartridges fit pretty tight, especially when you have a plastic on. This fits in there nice and tight. There's no wiggle room, nothing, and it fits all the cartridge needles I tried. DaVinci, T-Tech, Magic Moon, Tatsol, Emala, Quadron, and it all works fine. Controls for voltage up and down is just pretty straightforward. Up and down. Cool stuff with this company's batteries is that now they have this also kickstart option. Now you see this little lightning bolt on the side. That means that kickstart is on. And now if you press both buttons at the same time, thing disappears, and that's without kickstart. And as for controls, I don't know why that idea seems appealing at sometimes for many to have a start and stop button up here. Obviously it's on this company's units. I have seen it before from tattoo suppliers. It was times where some weird lights were offered that attached to tattoo machine and goes in front of here, sort of anglerfish type of a thing. And there was also for metal grips this little attachment that you can sort of tap and it goes on and off for your machine. And also back in a good old DIY homemade stuff days, there was a guy who made a tattoo machine. It was very prison-like stuff, but it also had this tappy thing and it seemed like wonderful idea at the time, and then those ideas disappear, but the concept behind it is floating around, and now we will see if it will be perfected or dropped out completely. Time will tell. Let's start with the good stuff. It's pretty comfortable to hold and to use. It's very kind of ergonomic. Weight-wise, unit comes in at 246 grams, which is pretty heavy, but it's distributed really nice. The weight feels nice in a hand, and also the way it's shaped feels very comfortable. Controls are all there. Battery life is around 4 hours, 4 tops 5 hours, and it has a quick charge where this battery should be full in half hour. And the charger is USB-C, which plugs in just at the back here. So the plug is there, click clack, that's how you charge it. You cannot run it while it's charging, and when you're charging you have to sort of pay attention, because what I noticed is that you want to play around with buttons and push and see that battery is actually charging, because I'm not sure if it is, if it's not showing, but that's just for a peace of mind. The cool stuff with these batteries is that they have a kickstart. I'll grab the tight Magic Moon cartridge so it clips in the front there. It's here at 3 volts without kickstart, and we push it, nothing's happening. Push the kickstart on, 3 volts and a little lightning bolt, and it's out at the maximum and it's running at 3 volts. And with the kickstart you can hear that sound when it pushes it first. Voltage starts at 3 volts, and like with all the batteries, you can put by 0.1 decimal up. That's the sound that button makes. Or you can just hold it and it runs up to 15 volts. Let's see how that sounds. $10 volts, just to hear the sound with a kickstart. And that's the sound without cartridge in. And what's interesting for me, I haven't seen that before, for adjusting needle length, there is this wheel at the back, and when you turn it, instead of moving something internal, it moves this back unit up and down the grip part. So with this you adjust needle length, which is an interesting solution, and it works very good when machine is wrapped. It's kind of grippy, it has some texture on it, so if you have some plastic bag on, you can feel it through it, you can adjust the length. It also have a bit of a click to it, so it's kind of, you feel when it's happening. As for wrapping it, it fits the standard clipcord sleeve, at least the standard that I use. And it fits quite snug. And then you do your usual tape, bag, whatever you do. This would be what I do. I always leave a little notch there so I can grab it if I need to undo it for some reason. It's just easier to pull the tape off. And for the back bit of it, just a regular machine bag. For this type, it could be something smaller. It kind of holds with a rubber band, but just to be sure, we can tie it around a bit. Also have a smaller bag in the way and do a bit of a tape. And again, a little bit where you can grab it when you undo it. This is what you end up with, and you can easily adjust the needle length. Controls are here. On, off, up and down. And when you're done, unwrap it, spray it, sanitize it, do whatever you do. For me personally, I prefer autoclavable parts, or I prefer disposable parts. Still, as I mentioned in previous videos, it seems to be that autoclave, it's not really a standard anymore. If you look at any conventions, people would wrap their pens even in like a grip tape, which is not even a barrier, it's just a grip tape. From what it looks like, it's kind of a new standard. I would like to mention one thing that one tattooist was posting on his Instagram stories. Shout out to Agat Tattoo. This idea is from him, and it's to use UVC lamps. In his video he mentioned UV. From when I looked in, it's UVC. I have a bigger one at the moment that I use in a shop, and you can also buy those small trays. They kind of go in the same section where it's like a phone disinfectant lamp, and that you can throw the whole unit in. You can throw all your setup. You can throw ink caps, grip tapes, your tattoo machine, grips, tips, whatever, and process through that unit. It will definitely not make it worse. It's a sterilization lamp. That could be something that gives you extra peace of mind. The only thing with those lamps, you have to look into it, because if they are real UVC lamps, you don't want to be around them. They also emit ozone, so that's all for the killing bad stuff, but you don't want to be around it. Those smaller boxes, they designed to do that, so that should be fine. Just look into it that you're buying real product and make sure you use it safe. Why I'm accenting that you should look into that it's a real product, because if you will buy fake one, you will have a fake sense of safety. And in reality, it will be just a UV lamp, and you will make a little party for all your germs, viruses, and bacteria. So that's something to keep in mind. And now we kind of at the end part of the good stuff, and now we will slide into next segment with a little tip and trick, because if you just pack it like this, it's just plastic and it's super slippery, so that could be hard to work. And then when I contacted people from Inklo, I said that this is a bit of an uncomfortable way to work because it's slippery. He showed me some trick, and that works fine. And that would be to put grip tape on, and since there are screen and buttons, you have to be a bit tricky with it. So you want to avoid covering the screen itself, because you still want to see the voltage and all that stuff, and you end up with something looking like this, just to be sure that you still see screen, battery life, and don't put too much pressure on buttons. And now it's not slippery and it works. On, off, and you can feel buttons through the grip tape. Just don't put too much pressure on them, otherwise it will be pressed in all the time. Boom, boom. And it's not slippery, and you can control everything with a bit of moving it around or moving this around. You can see all the digits, you can see all the readings that you need. So that would be that little trick if it's too slippery. With this point, we are sliding into downsides. When you pack it, it's a bit slippery. There is workaround for it. Other obvious downside for many will be hygiene. And I stand on the side where I prefer disposable or autoclavable options. In that regard, this wouldn't be the one. All you can do is pack it as good as you can and then spray it down, wipe it, do all that stuff. That's a standard for many. And as I mentioned, it's not a bad idea to consider for extra peace of mind those UVC lamps. Obviously use them safe. That should cover hygiene for modern standards. That's something that we see with all the pen type tattoo machine crowd. That's what we see on conventions. That is something we see on cool internet videos. If you are old way thinking, it wouldn't cut your standards. If you're a modern kid with a pen machine, this is how many people do things now. Another downside that I find, at least for me, the needle length, it's not too big. It's 3.5 millimeter stroke. I wish this part would be deeper or the plunger bar would be longer. For needles like Magnums, they work fine. They come out long enough. When you start to put liners in, it sometimes gets very short needle length. And I checked with different needle brands. It worked different from brand to brand. With some it's fine, with some it's coming out like tops 2 millimeters, and in some situations it's kind of like you will have to ride the tube with it if you use it as a liner. It's not impossible, it just has to be compatible with the brand of needle that you use, and that's something you want to try, because maybe it will not work with your favorites. Another downside for me, just for peace of mind, I like that machines have option to also be plugged in case the battery dies. You can plug it in and work that way. With this one, the argument is that it's quick charge, so even if you mess up and you forgot to charge it, in half hour you can get battery full and run it for another 4 hours. But that's just me. You know, I always like a backup. For example, with this type of a machine, if you work with battery, bim bam, it runs out, detach it, plug it in, connect it to your power supply, and off you go. And on a hygiene topic, I wish this tip would be detachable. You can detach it with like unscrewing it. There are 3 screws in there. You unscrew those and then you can remove this part. On the previous machine, they had this situation going on where you unscrew it and then it's a separate piece that you can throw in an autoclave, or dip it in cold sterilizer solution, or whatever you do with it. Spit on it if you feel like it. I understand that there would be maybe issues with cartridge needles when you clip them in or clip them out. That could start to twist the whole thing. I wish there would be a chance to detach it, throw it in an autoclave, just for peace of mind, even it's just the very tip of it. That would be my touch on downsides. Maybe another downside I can mention that there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of detachable parts. You can see there's a screw, there's thread, there's a wheel. This whole situation moves up and down. The more elements there are moving, in my mind, the more chance that something go wrong, something can get in. Either it could be contaminated particles or just the dust and mess with mechanical part of it. In my opinion, less is more. Yeah, with my old ways of thinking of hygiene, some parts could be moved further away from the tip. I understand that this idea is appealing, to just have it at the tip of your fingers, just on and off. And now the big question, who is it for? And I don't really know. I mean, I have few ideas. With this unit, I could at least figure out who it would be interesting to try. With this one, it's a bit more complicated. First idea that comes on mind, since this was designed by a tattooist, the idea is from tattoo artist who had some injuries with his back and wrist. I don't know what injuries are there exactly and how this would help. But if you're someone who have similar type of injuries, you have some back issues, some hand issues, some wrist issues, and you see that this would be helpful for you, where you have this all-in-one unit with controls here, needle length adjustments there, it's top heavy, so it's very comfortable to work, it feels nice in the hand, all this movement feels very natural, then that would be tattoo machine for that person with those issues, who think from watching this video or reading something on their webpage that this would help. I have no idea what those issues are and what it would help. Since it was originally made with that concept in mind, then this could be solution for someone. Another type of person who this would be for is maybe for some collector who wants to have all the machines and all the inventions, all the unusual bits and bobs for tattooing, who just want it in a collection, because this is definitely an interesting unit. So far it's one of a kind, and we will see where this will bring us in the future, what will be next models, how it's gonna evolve. It's definitely not bad product, like I said. My old way of thinking, hygiene is an issue with this type of things, but looking at modern standards, it seems that it's just fine, and depends on where you are, what's your hygiene and sterilization procedures or standards in the country. It might be just fine for some. It's definitely comfortable to use. There are some great engineering put into it. This is something interesting. I think this is something that should be on tattoo conventions where this company have a stand and people can actually have it, look at it, feel it. It's interesting and I'm glad that it's out there. And now you share your thoughts. What do you think of this product or products like these, and maybe mention if you have on mind some unusual, interesting or weird project that you have seen down the line. Leave that down in the comment section, and like always, press likes, share the video, and see you in a future episode.